have you not?
Hello and welcome to SW Squad Up. I hope everyone has enjoyed or are enjoying my Star Wars Squadron story mode playthrough. I've been getting good feedback on it and appreciate everyone that's watched it so far. But now it's time for the first deep dive video into a key aspect in the Star Wars Squadron's Fleet Battles mode. This will be the first of many videos going over aspects of the Squadron's multiplayer to help you, the viewer, both to learn, understand, and generally be better informed. Today's topic has been a bit of a touchy subject, the AI-controlled X-Wing and TIE Fighter squadrons, or better known as Creep by most of the MOBA gaming community. And I'm not going to let that elephant sit in the room for too long in this video. I'm going to address it first, and we can move on to the meat of the video where you can learn from what I have to give to you. Stick with me here, everyone. AI creep killing or farming is okay. Do not shame people for doing it. It's an integral part of the Fleet Battles mode. The point of the AI creep is to make each side of the battle play the game. If the defenders aren't leaving their capital ship shield bubble, you can just kill creeps so you can turn the morale bar and make it so you are on offense. Alternatively, if the attackers never attack you while you're on defense, you can still kill creep so that you can then be on offense. It is to deter against teams getting up on objectives and just fortressing in their capital ship shields or other similarly degenerate strategies. Now, I can hear the comments section already, but Ryan, what about the known lockdown strategy? That's very degenerate and ruins my games because the opposing team is creep farming. I get that, but let me help you put a few things into perspective. AI creep farming does not equate to a team using the lockdown strategy. It seems other content creators have been afraid to point out in detail this strategy directly out of concern that many others would adopt it. But that might be allowing for the community to misinterpret what the lockdown really is. So, I'm going to help you understand how creep farming in general does not equate to locking an opposing team down. First, and most importantly, it must be a 2 cruiser or frigate versus none situation. Team A has destroyed both of Team B's cruisers and frigates, while Team B has destroyed none of Team A's cruisers or frigates. If there is not a 2 to none situation, there is still space for the defenders to fight player versus player, taking out the opposing player-controlled starfighters, and AI creep farm themselves. So that means they are not locked in with that lockdown strategy. Second, when a team is really locking an opposing team down, they will end up with 100+ creep kills. Usually only 1 to 2 players are doing this. Dozens of creep kills is completely normal, and some games that go back and forth requiring more creep killing to turn the phase for your team and them to you could end up with a team just over 100 total, which can happen and is still okay. It's only the abusive amount of creep kills that aren't necessary when they could be actually pushing to attack the capital ships, which goes into point number 3. This is more telling of the lockdown strategies than any amount of creep kills, is the winning team will end up with a very low capital ship damage count because they aren't really making any attempt to attack, just locking their opponents down to run out the game time to victory. I think a lot of players are getting caught up seeing double-digit creep kill numbers and thinking they're getting locked down, all while the game took less than 20 minutes because the winners actually made successful attack runs while maintaining map control and being conscious of the morale bar, creep farming when necessary to stay on the attack. That is not a lockdown. You just lost to a well-coordinated team that knew correct timing and what to prioritize during different states of the game. With all that said, I can still acknowledge that there are some pain points with the current system that likely need to be adjusted to not only stop actual lockdowns, but also in general that deal with the current AI creep behavior or pathing. The positioning of the AI creep is likely the largest issue because while on defense, the AI creep are still predominantly in the middle of the maps, making it difficult for the defenders to farm them to turn the morale bar so they're on offense. This obviously makes it easier for the attackers to maintain farmed AI creep just purely based on creep position alone. You could make the argument the value of the AI creep in the dogfight phase needs to be adjusted as well, but I'm more concerned with their positioning between the different attacking and defending phases at this time. Charlemagne on Reddit has already acknowledged the lockdown issue posted in the original Reddit post detailing the lockdown strategy, and that they would bring it up to the team, so we'll see what happens. I doubt this will be an easy fix to expect very soon, as I'm sure their higher priority right now is the matchmaking and skill rating system, but at least they are aware. Alright, that elephant is out of the room now. Onto the starfighter builds and results of my research on creep and fleet battles from here on out. AI creep farming guide incoming.
But farming? Really? Man of your talents?
It's a peaceful life.
So without a doubt, the number one component in the requirement for AI creep farming are the multi-lock missiles, which means the best AI creep killers are the TIE Bomber and Y-Wing. Multi-lock missiles automatically lock up to 4 enemy targets, and each missile will one-shot an AI creep target. It takes the multi-lock missiles 1 second to acquire each new lock up to 4. They will not lock all at once. The maximum lock-on range seems to be at 1,100 meters, the homing strength being medium, and a 5 total ammo count. But no matter if you lock 1 or all 4 targets, the shot each time will always cost you 1 ammo out of the 5. In most cases, this is literally all that's needed weapon-wise for AI creep farming. If for some reason there is only one dedicated AI creep farmer in your squad, which we'll get into later why that's probably incorrect, that single AI creep farmer also wants the Goliath missile, which has a very large blast radius that kill all AI creep in it with just 1 missile. You may wonder though, why not just take the Goliath instead of the multi-lock missile then? Well, with the Goliath, you only get 3 ammo before you need to resupply, and it requires a standard lock-on unless you dumbfire it, hoping to hit an object near where the AI creep are moving and utilizing the large blast radius to get the AI kills. Between having to resupply more often, whether from an allied support or taking the trip back to your frigate or cruiser, or on defense, could be all the way to your capital ship, and the required full lock-on keeps this out from being the number one. But if a bomber has both, they are AI killing machines. The thing is, we're not here to kill only AI creep. We need to help add in the frigate, cruiser, and capital ship damage race, which is where the 2 main options that are both viable as the secondary auxiliary component come into play. First is the beam cannon, which I believe is the most commonly used component on bombers for cap ship damage. This weapon just does a lot of damage. It seems to be a mainstay in bomber builds overall. Until for whatever reason Motive adjusts anything with the beam cannon, it will be a great choice. The second, albeit lesser used, and probably underrated component is the Proton Torpedo. This is a high damage, long range, long lock-on time required component that allows mid-map AI creep control while having a quick and safe long-range capital ship damage contribution. Proton torpedoes require less commitment of the bomber actually getting close on an attack run on their target, but there is a small chance that the torpedo actually gets shot down, whether from stray laser fire from your target or the extremely rare case of an enemy player actually targeting it to shoot it down. If torpedoes become a predominant strategy, more players will become used to searching out and destroying the incoming torpedoes or missiles, so this may be notched down a bit from the reliable beam cannon. The Proton Torpedo also likely requires having another squad mate or two that carry ion missiles and or torpedoes that plan to take out the shields on capital ships, since the Proton Torpedo damage really needs to be done to hull, not shields. If your teammates don't have a way of doing serious shield damage through ion weaponry, it's just going to be a longer phase until you can contribute meaningfully to capital ship damage. To give a small overview of each option, the beam cannon pros you have is just that you know you're going to be doing damage as long as you hit your target. It's a small charge up time and technically has infinite ammo. The cons are you are much more vulnerable to getting killed while using it because it's closer range and you have zero turning while using it. On the other hand, with Proton Torpedoes, it's great because you can contribute to the capital ship damage from a longer range, meaning it's safer for you from being targeted and dying, and more AI creep farming uptime if necessary. The problems being, you have a chance that the whole torpedo will be shot down, which negates all of your potential damage. The lock-on time does take longer, and it does best when shields are down, so it needs a bit more squadron coordination. Technically, yes, it does have limited ammo, but if you shot all those shots, which the count is 5, I'd be surprised if your target wasn't destroyed by that time. Overall, the second auxiliary component between beam cannon and proton torpedoes is up to you as a player and your teammates in what they believe is needed in the strategy you're trying to employ. As always, with the bomber class, stick with the basic rotary cannon. But while there is a little bit of discussion on the standard lasers or guided rotary for easier AI creep farming, the damage output for the standard rotary is too good to pass up for adding on to capital ship damage and for targeting enemy players when your squad mates need assistance. The rest of your component choices are mostly your flavor to taste, but here are my recommendations. For the TIE Bomber, I'd say agile hull and unstable twin engine. For the Y-Wing, I'd go with the Chempat deflector hull, unstable sublight engine, and the low Renor ray shields, generally favoring a bit of speed and boosting to move around the map as necessary and get to AI creep farming as soon as possible in the early game. As to power management, I recommend you keep power to engines to stay as mobile as possible because it's not necessary to set power to weapons for your primary to kill AI creep if it's needed. Obviously, as a Y-Wing, you set your power to shields on the way in to overcharge them and then set power to engines. This may also be obvious, but make sure you set your targeting to enemy AI to make finding AI creep easier. That's all for the starfighter building for AI creep farming. Now on to the AI creep behavior, pathing, values, and general locations for each map themselves. First, we'll start with the base AI creep behavior that I've studied. Once AI squadrons get to their destination, if there are no enemies around to attack, they'll begin their seemingly oval or circular path they cycle through within their destination area. Things that will divert them from their path are enemy AI squadrons, enemy players, and enemy large ships to attack. Also, asteroids and structures in their flight path will oftentimes break up the squad. When AI squadrons get broken up, they tend to either trail off into seemingly random directions alone, taking a long time to turn back around, either attempting to return to their initial flight path or just fly their way towards enemy large ships to attack them. Their main priorities are between reforming with a squadron back in the original path or attacking enemies. These broken off AI are generally not worth chasing, but as an AI creep farmer, or really anybody, if you end up somewhere with a stray AI because you were helping out a squad mate, for example, and you have a moment to kill them off, it's probably best to do so specifically with your primary weapon, not to waste multi-lock missiles. As an AI creep farmer, you should be mindful and do your best to not allow friendly large ships to get the kill on AI creep, as that will not count as a kill for your morale bar. Do what you can to intercept the AI creep heading towards attacking your friendly large ships, not because they'll do meaningful damage to your ship, but because you'll lose those AI kill points. AI creep squadron values are +5 at the starting dogfight, +5 when defending, and +2 when attacking. This means at the starting dogfight phase of fleet battles, if a team kills 8 AI creep fast enough, they will go on attack, which will automatically destroy the opposing corvette, which is part of the normal phase turnover. Corvettes just get automatically destroyed, not just because of AI killing. Which means, if you recall why I said squadrons will want more than one AI creep killer, this is why. 2 to 3 bombers at the start can flip a phase to attacking really fast, and it's 100% worth their own life to do it. This is something that likely needs an adjustment in some manner, whether it is strictly the AI creep kill values, or however Motive wants to adjust it to reflect what they want the beginning phase of fleet battles experience to be. This also may sound obvious, but it is not worth creep killing while the morale bar is full or close to full. That is time to make your attack runs or shoot off your torpedoes. It's best to save those AI creep to kill later when trying to keep your morale bar above half for your attack runs. Each Fleet Battles map has their own locations for the AI destination paths where they start to begin their cycle, circling or creating that oval path. The most common amongst all of the maps is in the middle of the map at varying heights above the starting middle horizon. Yavin is a completely open map, very easy to spot AI and kill them. AI generally exist in the middle of the battle, and a group on each side of the middle going to attack enemy large ships. This is one of the only maps I could see using a very dedicated creep farmer with multi-lock missiles and Goliath missile, but I still don't recommend it. Esselis, similar to Yavin pathing, but obviously with a big space station in the middle. Just like Yavin, there will be a group that hangs out in the upper middle near the dish tower networks. Also, there is a group far to the right and far to the left, skirting the outer edge of the station, that make their way towards enemy large ships for their own attack runs. The only tricky part about Esselis is that if you don't kill a full group or a group gets broken up, they can sometimes end up within or even under the station. You have absolutely no reason to chase those, just move on to the next group above the middle or off to the right or left like I mentioned. In the Zavian Abyss, the two main AI creep destinations are the open top middle high above near the yellow clouds of the Maelstrom and around the wreckage of the Venator Star Destroyer. There were times where there was a group of AI that went near the open pocket on the heavy asteroid side underneath the largest middle asteroid, but that also looks to be part of the whole circle pathing that goes from the Venator and around that wreckage, and may have that endpoint of that oval be under that large asteroid in that open pocket. Sticking around the lower section of the map around the Venator is probably the safest, and climbing high for the upper creep when necessary. Keep in mind, AI creep will not turn away from the Maelstrom clouds, so do not chase them in there. They'll just disappear and die. In the Nadiri dockyards, in most cases, AI stays looping in the middle lane of the map, both in the upper and lower section of it. Anything outside the middle are generally stray AI, unless you're on defense, which in some cases, there is a group of creep on the side lanes, but it has been rare. The side lane squadrons of creep are generally just in teams of 3. Nadiri will commonly have broken up groups that end up wandering as single AI because of all the intricate structures of Nadiri, so keep in mind that most of your grouping is going to be focused in the middle of the map. In Sasubo, this is one of the 2 maps that have creeps going in different sections of the map for each faction. So to help clarify, instead of saying left and right, because that depends on perspective, we'll say tube side for the large tube debris and scatter side for the large scattered debris. The X-Wing AI tends to favor the scatter side, while the TIE Fighter AI favors the tube side. They still will cycle from both top and bottom middle of the map to those locations. It's a wide pathing, so you can sometimes see TIE Fighters close to scatter or X-Wings close to tube, but they will turn back and generally maintain being in the middle or on the respective sides that I've described. Gallatin is the second of the 2 that have AI that exist mainly in separate sides of the map, rotating from there to the middle and back. Similar to Sasubo, to help split the map sides, there will be the core side for the exposed molten core, and the planet side for the visually open side of the map showing the planet Gallatin orbits. The X-Wing AI favors the planet side, and the TIE Fighter AI favors the core side. Just like Sasubo, they rotate from those sides within the asteroids to the top, middle, and sometimes bottom of the map, but mostly top and middle. Unlike Sasubo though, this map has more obstructions in the way of your multi-lock missile shots trying to take down your targets. On top of that, because the high density of asteroids, the AI squads get broken up a lot more easily. There will be many more times where you have to compromise using multi-lock missile shots at just 2 AI in a group, because an asteroid might get in the way of the third, or waiting for that third lock may intrude on your whole salvo. Basically, maximize where you can, but be very aware if you wait too long for the lock, it could actually hurt the whole volley. And that's it for our AI creep farming guide. Overall, I hope you took a few things from this video. First, learning more about how to best creep farm both with the best loadouts for your starfighter and still contribute to capital ship damage in a meaningful way when it's time to attack with your squad mates. Also, I'd assume you gained knowledge on some creep behavior, locations, and pathing to better understand where to look for them and plan accordingly, as this is not a topic I've seen anyone go over yet. Finally, above all, that creep farming is an integral part of fleet battles as a game mechanic, not as this apparent exploit all the time. Yes, getting locked down is a thing in Squadrons right now, and I hope things get adjusted as motive sees necessary to fix it. But it is much less common than people think it really is. Creep farming does not just equate to a lockdown situation. If you found this video valuable to you, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe, and click that bell icon for future content as I continue to comb through Squadrons multiplayer to bring you the best tactics, strategies, content, and just general enjoyment for the game. Leave a comment below on your thoughts on AI creep farming and any strategies you've employed that I might have missed. Also, I always appreciate feedback on my videos to help create better content for you in the future. Thank you all for stopping by and looking to become more informed on AI creep in fleet battles. I hope to see you next time. Be sure to squad up, everybody.